Hi, I'm Dr. Paul with Secrets of Chiropractic Success. And what I do is I help chiropractors, I train chiropractors how to have a highly profitable practice, number one. Number two, how to create a freedom lifestyle through associate doctors. Number three, how to create wealth through investing in real estate. That's exactly what I did to retire at age 32. Let me share with you one of my clients' stories. Dr. Sean, he's in California, chiropractor in California. And he was actually pretty successful when he came to me. He had one associate doctor and he was seeing 400 visits a week. So he was doing pretty good. So we took him, we went through the basic systems. There's four major categories in the very first tier of how to have a highly profitable practice. There's patient education and retention. There's new patient marketing. There's the fees and your overhead. You have to master those four categories. Those are the four profit centers of any business. So you have to master those. That's not something you can just pass off to somebody else. Now, there's a lot of secondary issues in running a business, but none of those secondary issues matter if you don't know how to maximize those. So that's what will take you to maximizing your time for money. So Dr. Sean went from 400 visits a week to 800 visits a week, two offices, and he increased his business $2 million, over $2 million. Well, how did he do that? Well, here's what happened. First, when he comes in, we evaluated his systems. We looked at his patient retention, applied the patient retention systems. Now, my patient retention system is based on the science of the three phases of healing. It is not based on subluxations. And the reason for that is patients care about themselves. They don't care about chiropractic. They care about how they heal and what I'm going to do to help them heal. That they understand that and they care about that. They don't care about my philosophy. So it makes it very easy for the patient to understand and accept care. And then we just make it affordable for them. So our patient retention is unbelievably easy and accepting. Then we go to marketing. Okay, now you have to know how to get new patients. Well, that's a whole nother story in chiropractic because 92% of the population does not seek chiropractic care, but 2/3 of them have a chiropractic problem. So you have to learn specific type of marketing to attract that segment of the market. If you're stuck chasing the 8%, you'll never do well. It's too small of a number. So that's the second thing we teach is how to attract the 92%, not the 8%. Okay, and then we pay attention to the fees and overhead. So that takes care of the profit center. So that's what we did with Dr. Sean. So we maxed him out. We maxed his office out. He brought on another associate doctor and he got his office up to 500, 600, right around 500 visits a week, something like that. So then he has him and another doctor seeing about 500. Now, we actually added personal injury to his office. We increased his personal injury. So we also teach personal injury. So we took his dollar per visit from 50 up to $100 per visit collection. And that's the way it is with personal injury. It gives you the highest dollar per visit collection of any segment in the chiropractic industry. So now he's at 500 visits. He's got an associate doctor and it's increased his dollar per visit 50. Essentially, he's almost doubled his income is essentially what's just happened. So where does that go? So if you go, so what do we do next? Well, then we talked with the attorneys we worked with. We said, well, hey, where do you have, personal injury clients that are too far to come to our office, but you want us to work with them? They go over here. So they all point to this one area. So we open an office over there. That makes sense. In other words, the business was already there. He just wasn't cultivating it. So we open an office there. That office goes up to 150, 200 visits a week. Now that office is seeing over 200 visits a week and it's got two doctors in it. So he took his practice from seeing 400 visits a week to over 800 visits a week, and he doubled his dollar per visit. So when you go 400 visits a week, 400 times $100 per visit, that's what it is with personal injury. We increased his business $2 million. This took about a year from start to finish, $2 million. Dr. Sean has 4 associate doctors working for him, 4. He takes off regularly. Matter of fact, I just talked to him today. He's actually heading over to Japan and he's going snowboarding in the mountains, up in the mountains in Japan. See, that's the lifestyle you should have, and probably what you dreamed of as a chiropractor. And that's what you should. When you go to school for 7 academic years and you pay $100,000 or $200,000 in student loans, and it takes another $30,000, $50,000 to open your practice, you should be getting some return out of that. And unfortunately, the market's very small in chiropractic. There's only 8% of the population that's looking for chiropractic, and they don't want to come in and stick around for care. So unless a doctor knows patient education, he won't change that. He'll lose patients in the 6th, 7th, 8th visit. I see that all the time. And then when you don't know the marketing, you don't know how to attract the 92%, because that's really where the market's at. It's not the 8%. Oh, 95% of the chiropractors are chasing 8% of the population. I used to tell my clients, I said, just leave the 8% alone. It's a much bigger market. The 92% is a much bigger market than the 8%. But it takes a totally different type of marketing to get those people, because they're not looking for a chiropractor. They're going everywhere else. They're going to the emergency room, the GP. They're going everywhere else. They're just not going to the chiropractor. So that takes a very specific type of marketing. Well, we've mastered that. So that's how we max out all these offices real fast, to where they have to learn how to hire, train, and manage associate doctors. And then eventually they just open a 2nd, 3rd, 4th office. So in other words, the growth is not limited now by the market. And if you don't have the knowledge and skill, it will be limited by the market, because 8% is a real small number, and they don't want to stay very long. That's why most chiropractors will see 80 to 60 to 80 visits a week. The national average is 107, which is 50% less than the capacity. The average chiropractor loses $250,000 a year just by not seeing that extra 100 visits a week at $50 a visit. $250,000 a year they lose just because they don't have the knowledge and skill. They think it's the market and everything else. Well, when you don't have the knowledge and skill, it is the market. It is. When you have the knowledge and skill, it's not the market. So that's how I was able to open 77 offices in 20 states. There's a ton of patients if you just know if you know marketing, patient retention, if you just know these systems, that's all. If you don't know them, it's bad. Chiropractic is a very unusual profession. If you don't know the knowledge and skill of how to do these things, it's a bad profession to get in with only 8% utilization. That's a real small number. It's a great profession to get in if you actually know patient education and marketing, because there's 68% of the people out there have a chiropractic problem to some degree. And I'm only talking about back pain, neck pain, headaches, and joint pain. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about chasing everything else. So anyway, that's what happened with Dr. Sean. $2 million increase. 4 associate doctors. Takes off when he wants. That's how it should be. It should be how much you want. How much do you want? Not be limited by the market. It should just be limited by what you want. Do you want to do more? Do more. If you don't want to do more, don't do more. If you want 1 associate doctor, 2, 3, you should be able to do that. You should have the knowledge and skill to go do it. If you want 2, 3, 4 office, you should have the knowledge and skill to go do it. But you do have to have the knowledge and skill with only 8% utilization. That's a very small number. And that's why, unfortunately, 50% of the chiropractors aren't practicing 5 years later. I see it all the time. So if you're one of those chiropractors that's down, you're seeing 70 visits a week, 60 visits a week, 100 visits a week, or, maybe 120, you're making enough money, but you're not living your lifestyle. You're not living in the big McMansion and driving the big SUV and taking the vacations you want. If that's not your lifestyle, give me a call. That's the lifestyle we create. I'm Dr. Paul. Give me a call. You can go to secretsofchiropracticsuccess.com. And by the way, you'll see a lot of testimony, a lot of clients done very well. You'll see them. But that's what we teach. We teach the 3-tier system. It's 3 tiers: highly profitable practice, how to create a freedom lifestyle. I had one doctor, he just brought in an associate doctor so he could spend more time with his family. That's why he wanted associate doctors. So he worked part-time, doubled his income, and got to spend more time with his family. Not a bad deal. That's what happens when you're actually empowered and you have knowledge and skill and you actually have these abilities, instead of the market just crushing you. And then you thinking you can't get ahead and it's everybody else. It's from lack of knowledge or skill. That's what it is. And until you actually learn that knowledge or skill, you'll get the same results. So anyway, give us a call if you want to practice analysis. I can do a practice analysis with you. I can show you real simply by looking at some simple numbers what you can do to increase your practice the most amount of money the fastest. And like I said, 92% of my clients increase their business over $100,000 in 90 days. Now, from where they want to take it from there, it's up to you. If you want to see 200 visits a week, you want an associate doctor too, it's up to you. But there's a big difference having the knowledge and skill in the market and knowing how to create it versus not even having that knowledge or skill and being stuck and limited by only the 8% that are coming in. And then they just want to stay for 3 or 4 visits till they feel a little better and leave. Unfortunately, that's probably 80% of the chiropractic profession, unfortunately. They never learned the knowledge and skill of patient education, retention, marketing, all these things that create highly successful businesses, specifically chiropractic. The blueprint's there. I mean, I teach the blueprint. I've been teaching it for 30 years. All you got to do is pick up the phone, give me a call. I'll do a practice analysis with you, show you exactly what you can do to increase your income the fastest. And like I told you, it's probably going to be $100,000. The client that I just talked to you about the other day, seeing 40 visits a week, he'll increase his practice $150,000 in 90 days. The bad news is he's going to increase it that much because he's so low. He's so bad. So anyway, if that fits your picture, if you're interested in changing your lifestyle, if you're actually interested in learning how to run a business, no marketing, no patient education, that takes way more than being a chiropractor. So give me a call. You can go to secretsofchiropracticsuccess.com. Also, you can go to YouTube, Secrets of Chiropractic Success. Got a ton of free videos. You can go to secretsofchiropracticsuccess.com and sign up for the newsletter. I'm always 2-3 times a week. I'm always giving away free information, tips, and how to solve problems, etc. And I'll do a free practice analysis for you and see what you can do in your practice based on where you're at, your statistics, your numbers. Okay. So check out secretsofchiropracticsuccess.com, or you can give me a call, 954-740-2722.